Hi folks, Vipin here. With the budget happening today and being presented by the Honorable Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, I wanted to give you my point of view and explain a little about the budget when it comes to the middle class family point of view. Okay, I don't want to get into the other details wherein they talk about how much they're investing in power projects, how much they're investing in education, defense, etc. But I want to talk about how this would affect a middle class Indian, such as myself and you guys who are watching this video. So let me start off by talking about the highlights on what are some of the changes which could actually affect us. Now, basic customs duty on LCD and LED TVs has been reduced from 10% to about 0. Now, if you don't know what customs duties are a tax that you pay for importing goods. Okay. Now, when you talk about importing goods, they range from a few percent to several 100%. 150 or 120% I think is the highest. Now, this has been reduced from 10% to 0, which means electronic goods will actually get cheaper, such as LCD and LED TVs. Now, why have they actually done this? They've done this to promote people to encourage people to actually go about buying these LCD TVs. Now, a good way to look at this would be the finance minister doesn't want us to spend a large amount of money buying these big fancy LED TVs. Now, if you think about it, it doesn't really seem worthwhile because most of us would watch the regular programs on these televisions, and we don't really use it as a home theater sort of system. So whether we watch it on a 19-inch television or we watch it on a 32-inch television, the end value, the marginal utility, if you don't mind me using economic terms, is going to be the same. It's not really going to make a big difference on what screen we actually watch it on. So this is one good thing that they've actually done. And one more, importing of electronic goods will actually cost more. Now, electronics would also include televisions, but televisions aside, for example, if you want to buy a cell phone, it's actually going to cost you more. Now, what does that mean? Why does that actually, how is it actually going to affect us? Now, all the electronic goods that we purchase is in fact taken from China. Now, if you notice, there is a huge increase in consumerism in India. That is, we are a generation where our phones become outdated in 6 months and we require to buy a new one. Now, in order to discourage us from buying a new one, okay, they have made these commodities expensive. Now, they've done this so that we don't go about buying and spending a lot of money on electronic goods. Now, why does that actually done? One, of course, like I said, to discourage consumerism, and the other one that they've actually done that is because to preserve the foreign exchange in India. The less we actually import because it's too expensive, the more dollars actually stay in our reserves. So, he's also mentioned that a cess would be introduced. Now, what is a cess? A cess can be considered as a tax on tax. Okay. Now, when I pay my income tax, it's considered 10% of my overall income minus the exemption limit. So, let's say I was earning around 3 lakh rupees. The old exemption limit was 2 lakhs. So, 3 lakhs minus 2 lakhs is 1 lakh. And 10% of 1 lakh is the amount of tax I need to pay. Now, that comes to about 10,000 rupees. 10,000 rupees, on that you have something called education cess that is levied on it. I think it's about 3%. So 3% of 10,000, that's about 300. The total amount of money I need to pay is 10,300. So cess is like a tax on tax, you could say. And now you could see an additional slot in the billing system when you go about buying these electronic goods. Now, we would all pay VAT. You could have a cess wherein it's a tax on the VAT amount that is actually required to pay. So let's say a cess of 2% has been introduced and the VAT that you've paid is 100 rupees. 2% of 100 rupees is 2 rupees, so you'll have to be actually paying 102 now, rather than the previous case where you actually paid just 100. So this is what they mean by a cess. And then sugary carbonated drinks to actually become costlier, good. We really need to discourage people from consuming carbonated drinks, not because they are promoting foreign institutions. It's mostly because it's pretty unhealthy. They have a large amount of sugar in them, and that's not really healthy. So that's one thing which I actually support. Cigarettes and tobacco products in general to cost more. This is not something which is new. Whoever was in charge of the Indian Parliament, the BJP, Congress, whoever it is, they've always gone about increasing the cost of tobacco year after year. But my opinion, sorry Mr. Arun Jaitley sir, a person who smokes will continue to smoke irrespective of the cost, unless of course you make a overnight massive jump. Like if a stick of tobacco was to cost like 8 rupees and tomorrow you make it like 80 rupees, maybe in that case the person might actually start cutting back on consumption of tobacco. But otherwise, making from 8 rupees to say 10 rupees or 11 rupees, I don't really think it will have a massive impact on someone who smokes. And then CRT TVs are exempted from customs duties to help the poor. Now, I found this a little bit funny because I didn't even know that CRT TVs are still being manufactured. But in a good way, if the poor population is actually going to go about buying this, it's a great way for them to actually have information reach them. So that's a good way to have information actually reach a large population of India. Now, moving on. From the middle class point of view, the most common thing which we all focus about would be the direct tax code. So I have taken mostly the direct tax code here. I don't recall the finance minister including any other additional services in the service tax net or the goods or the GST which was supposed to have been introduced. None of that I recall. So let's just focus on direct tax, that's income tax. So no change in income tax rates, as in previously it was 10%, 20% and 30% depending upon the levels of income that you have. So that's continued to be there. So the exemption limit was previously 2 lakh rupees and now of course it's been increased to 2,50,000. Now that's a very good thing. Usually I see the governments go about increasing it by about 20,000 every year. Now, if I'm not wrong, the previous exemption limit was 1,80,000 and they increased to about 2 lakhs. And year after year, since prices are becoming more and more expensive, it's going to be a big saving for us if we pay less tax year after year, or rather reduce the burden of actually paying this tax. So 2,50,000 according to me is actually a good thing. A lot of people expected 5 lakhs to be the exemption limit. I'll tell you more about why that's not really possible in some time. Proposed to increase the investment under Section 80C from 1 lakh rupees to 1.5 lakh. Now, the total exemption that you could get in taxes was about 1 lakh rupees in terms of deductions. Now, for a large taxpayer, a person who's paying say 20% or 30%, for him the total deductions he could actually get was 1 lakh. And this would be showing the national savings certificates, the public provident fund, all that he could show, and he could get a maximum exemption of 1 lakh rupees on the amount of tax he could actually pay. Okay, now that has actually increased to 1.5 lakh rupees. So even for a large taxpayer as well, you are able to save a good deal of money when it comes to paying taxes at the end of the year, the end of the financial year rather. Tax exemption on interest component on housing loans raised to 2 lakh rupees. Previously it was 1.5 lakh. This is a good way to again increase the savings for people when it comes to paying tax. I had a colleague who would spend around, I think around 80,000 per year just on the housing loan interest rate. and he could claim this as a deduction for his income tax. Now he can show a lot more and get better savings for the amount of money he needs to pay in the form of tax. And then senior citizens, the limit has increased from 2.5 lakh to 3 lakh rupees. So a lot of pensioners would be extremely happy about this, especially those who worked abroad for many years and are now settled in India. They would actually save a big deal of money when it comes to paying taxes due to the new exemption limit now. So according to me, the budget has actually been good. I didn't really expect the finance minister to do a massive U-turn and put smiles on everyone's faces. Now I say that because it's not really possible for any government to put smiles on every person in this country. The reason is that because it's not possible to do that in any case. You can't find a company making every customer happy. So I highly doubt that a government is also capable of the same thing. So yeah, some expectations were not fulfilled. A lot of people felt that okay, the income tax limit would be raised from 2 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees. I remember a news channel had even put that up on their website, asking people, okay, what do you think should be the new exemption limit? And people said that okay, it should be up to 5 lakhs. So there again, opinions of people don't really matter when it comes to these things, because you shouldn't get ahead of yourself. Now I say that because you shouldn't take individual interests over general interests. Now let me tell you how this would work. If Arun Jaitley went on to increase the exemption limit to from 2 lakh rupees to 5 lakhs, a massive jump, that is, a massive jump. Okay. The first thing that would happen is the revenue that would be collected from income tax would drop down significantly. And the next thing that would happen is he would have to compromise on other things. Now, for example, Arun Jaitley proposed that a war memorial be done, a war museum be done to honor the people who actually gave lives for this country. He even proposed a memorial for police officers who were killed during their duty. Now, programs like this is not possible unless taxpayers are able to put forth money from their side. Now, when I go about paying taxes, my money gets utilized for a variety of things for this country, be it for an infrastructure project, be it for a power project, or be it for something like a war memorial. Now, I am a source of fund for the government. Now, if I am no longer a source of fund for the government, the total amount of money the government is actually able to collect is also going to drop down. And a person might say, it's okay, you are saving money for the citizen, we can always borrow and repay them. Getting into debt, be it an individual or a country, is never a wise thing to do. Look at the incidents of what happened to Greece and what may happen to Spain in the years ahead. Getting into debt is never a good thing to do, especially considering how short of cash the entire country has actually become. So it's always going to be like you compromise here and you try to make a person smile here, you will have to compromise on something else. So it's not really possible to make everyone happy in this regard. You really need to consider the country's point of view rather than an individual's point of view. That's why I find these opinion polls on news websites quite stupid. If 85%, as per that poll said, the exemption limit should be raised to 5 lakhs, I'm also sure if they had put up a question saying that, should the exemption limit be raised to 10 lakhs? Everyone would say yes, make it to 10 lakhs. So even 5 lakhs is not good enough, let's make it to even 10 lakhs. That's an individual's interest. You should look at the budget from the country's point of view. And I am also quite happy because Arun Jaitley went on to say the opposition party called this budget as a 100 crore budget because he proposed 100 crores for the war memorial, 100 crores for the study required to do the river linking projects, all that. Not just the study for the river linking projects, and a host of other things. like 100 crores has been allotted for encouraging women to save from a very young age and making sure they have adequate money during the time of marriage or for education, all that. So most of the plans have actually got the 100 crore allotment. And the opposition party has, of course, went on to say, oh, it's a 100 crore budget. And Arun Jaitley has given a very smart reply saying that if you think everything has been a 100 crore budget, then you've not understood the whole thing properly. And once again, my views on this is a very rational point of view. I always believe that, okay, whatever the government does is from the general interests of the country and not an individual's interest of the country. So this is a short explanation into the budget. I hope you found the video helpful. Please hit the subscribe button. Thank you for your time. Have a nice day. Bye.